Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is a perfect combination of energetic pop and intimate singer songwriter. An Ohio native whose vocals carry beyond the bounds of the Midwest, he's got an overwhelming level of energy packed into every track. Only a few years in, he's hit the ground running and has yet to slow down. Welcome, Adam.
That's the coolest intro I've ever had in my life. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped to be here.
I love to hear it.
Heck yeah,
Um,
man.
I always like to start off with getting some background on where your story with music kind of all kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a convoluted story in a great way. So, I grew up playing trumpet and baritone. So, I grew up in the brass section. It's where I unknowingly was absorbing a lot of music theory, and I think I was just laying the groundwork for what I was going to use later unknowingly. And I picked up acoustic guitar and keys in high school. So I just began playing a lot of instruments, but I was never one to sing. My siblings were always one to sing. I have a million sisters, and they were always doing show choir and singing at church and doing all those things, but that was never for me. And so I picked it up my senior year of high school when all of my friends happened to be in show choir, and they were like, worst comes to worst, you audition and you get to dance with some pretty girls, and it could suck, but that will happen. It'll be fun, right? And so I auditioned, and it went really well. Found out I can't dance, but I can sing. And so ended up jumping into this whole world of show choir for 1 year with Loveland by Request, which is one of the best in the nation, which was really cool to just kind of fall into this scenario where everyone was so good and pushed me to like realize that I had some skill that could be refined. So when I began singing. And then in college, that's when I began taking acoustic and keys a little bit more seriously and leaving the brass behind more so, like in terms of daily practice. And so I began writing music my freshman year of college. It was horrible, as it goes. And then my sophomore year, when COVID happened, that's when things coincidentally got pretty okay songwriting wise. And COVID obviously sent everyone home, and I built a studio in my dad's basement without him knowing, which was awesome. And then I began to produce, and a lot of the people around me are phenomenal producers and gave me the brutal feedback that sometimes I needed to hear, that helped me learn really fast. So that's when I kind of put all the pieces together of the instruments I could play, the ability to sing, the music theory knowledge, and then the production elements, all kind of created this little perfect storm with a lot of time with COVID. And I began this journey in the fall, I guess August of 2020.
That's kind of crazy. With COVID kind of putting a pause on everything, it gave people kind of the chance to like do things that like maybe wouldn't fit into
Mhm.
everyday life. Like
Absolutely.
I'm convinced that the only reason I finished my album in April of 2020 is because COVID hit and classes just kind of nobody knew how to teach online. So everything just kind of went on a little bit of a lull for a
Yep,
minute.
yep.
I got to finish some last little things that probably wouldn't have been done for another 6 months if COVID hadn't happened.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I think it
there's a
was a
silver
perfect.
lining.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was perfect timing also with the barrier of, or like the barrier to entry of this industry
Hmm.
getting so much lower, and just the accessibility for home producers and DIY artists. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm a product of
Yeah.
it. Like it really just skyrocketed. So yeah, that silver lining was super prevalent in, I guess, both of our lives.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think that is kind of helped in the way that, like you said, like the industry has gone to more open ended, essentially. Like it's become more like you're getting people that are not quite household names yet, but are like getting to that point where they are sustaining themselves and doing all this stuff just from doing it themselves. Like it's not the key is to find a label anymore. It's just, there's a lot of
Mm,
opportunity, especially with everybody doing freelance stuff anymore. Like you
right.
can get any Joe Schmo to mix your stuff if you needed to. It's crazy how that's
Absolutely.
just kind of shifted in the last few years.
I totally agree. I take so much out of the playbook from like Nick D and
Mhm.
like Tom Rosenthal and a handful of others that are just like independent warriors and so good at what they do. I mean, they definitely had their downfalls of like trying out the label type thing, but ultimately coming back home to this independent space, you know?
Yeah.
And I think indie is such a broad term, and a lot of people just associate it with the genre, right? Like backseat
Mhm.
lovers type beat, which is awesome, but like rarely do people realize that it is literally an abbreviation for independent.
Yep.
And that's I mean, it's so crazy. I don't know how historically accurate this statement is going to be, but like how crazy the independent scene has grown to have it be defined within a genre as well, you know, because indie is a monstrous categorization, but like in terms of the genre.
Mhm.
And I wonder how much of that was actually curated by the independent people, or if it became a monetized thing from the labels. I don't know. I'm just like going down a rabbit hole in my brain about indie
No,
as
I
I
mean
do every day.
that does make sense. It kind of like brings to light, like I was just thinking, I was like, maybe because, the whole thing with labels is they have some sort of creative control and stuff like that,
Mm,
at least in most cases. And some of the stuff that is defined as indie is a little bit, off the beaten track in the sense of it's not your
mm.
radio friendly all the time, in the sense that it's something different. It's a little like there's an edge to it, or there's something just kind of that makes you raise an eyebrow maybe, but in a good way.
It
So
totally,
I'm wondering if
absolutely,
that's kind of what influenced it becoming like an actual genre, because it is
absolutely.
similar to pop in the way that it's like there are 10,000 different things that could fall under pop. Same with
Yeah,
indie.
it's true. It's super similar to like how the NFL versus the college football circuit is and stuff, where like, I mean, in terms of the spirit of the players, I think. In the NFL, they've kind of made it. We look at the Ed Sheerans, we look at the weekends where there's a lot less pressure. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
there's so much less hanging over their head. And in college football, when these guys are fighting for every play that matters, that could completely define their career and give them a step up into this major league scenario,
Hmm.
like it's the same kind of with these indie artists. And I feel like I'm part of, or you and I are both probably a part of this movement where we're like scraping and gnawing at the bit to try to make something that is so representative of us that's still like digestible. And I
Hmm.
think there's more spirit in that than the people that are literally part of a machine, you know?
Mm. I would, yeah, I
Just
mean,
my opinion. Yeah, this is
no,
my take that I believe wholeheartedly.
no, I think there is definitely some merit to that, because like with like if you're trying to do this yourself, you don't follow suit of the Ed Sheerans and the Weekends, who have been
Hmm.
in the industry and have that like whole team of who knows how
Yeah.
many people, and have already like established something for themselves. Like you can't look at their socials and be like, oh, if I do that, it's gonna work for me. Because it's like that's not working for them because of what they're doing. It's working for them because of who they are already. Like
Hmm.
they've
I
made a
agree.
reputation for themselves prior to social media being their backbone. Whereas
Hmm.
like you have to follow suit to like the Nick D's and stuff like that, more so than people who have already
Hmm.
made a name for themselves. Like it might
Absolutely.
work if that's like your persona to a T, but at the same time, it's
Yeah.
like Ed Sheeran already exists. We don't need another one.
We don't exist.
We
Yeah,
don't need
no, that's
another
real.
Ed Sheeran. So,
Uh-huh. I totally agree. I could talk industry for like so many hours. I just do that with my friends on the daily.
so in this like peak COVID time of like trying to like dabble in producing your own stuff, learning this, starting to kind of pick up in the writing, where at least to your own say it's better
Hmm.
than it was.
Yeah,
Um,
way better.
we can always hope that it just keeps getting
Yeah,
better over time.
absolutely.
At what point in this kind of whole learning, growing, developing stage of things were you really like, oh, like I want to start putting stuff out. I want to have my name attached to this stuff. I want to start doing
Mhm.
this like artist project. Like what point was it like something you wanted to commit to?
I think that I'm totally of the mindset of if you like it, just put it out. And that's way different than a lot of other artists. So like that doesn't necessarily answer your question, but I think from the beginning, I like when I first started writing music, the goal was to put it out, you
Mhm.
know? And then I was brought back to reality with some friends saying like, "Hey, that's not good enough," which is good. And I'm really glad they said that because I look back at those things and I mean, even some of the stuff I did put out, it was just better than the other stuff, but not necessarily good yet. So I think right at the beginning, as soon as I began producing, I'm a dreamer and I dream high. And I like the day I got this computer, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make an EP on this and it'll be out in a couple months. And that's what happened, you know? And I think that that's kind of just the mentality that I've had since the beginning. And I I started this project and I knew where I wanted it to go. And I mean, I'm willing to work and do whatever I have to make it happen. And we're taking it day by day. But the victory, every small victory, is amounting to a lot bigger victories nowadays.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, especially in an early stage, like every little thing is going to make all the difference. It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean the live element of things is a huge encouragement to me. So like every time we get a big show, every time we are like added to a bill, that goes a long way. But in terms of just releasing stuff, I mean, right when I built that studio, right when I bought this computer and began producing and stuff, the goal was always to just put it out. I'm definitely of the mindset like if you put it out and it's not that good, people will just forget about it.
Yeah,
Whatever,
that's true.
put something out better next time. I would rather throw 100 lines and catch 10 fish than like throw 10 lines and yeah, maybe I'll catch one, but like then people, I mean, with my music, I have so much out that people just can go so deep into my stuff. And there's a lot of different sounds and stages of development represented,
Mhm.
and some people even love that like amateur early stuff where to be honest, it wasn't great, but it has a lot of rawness and people sometimes gravitate towards imperfection.
No, absolutely. And that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to ask is it's like if you look at the dates and like the time period on your tracks, like you started doing this, like you said, August 2020. Like it's been not even a full like 3 years, and you
Mm-hmm.
have more music out than most,
Mm-hmm.
which
Definitely.
is
It's
just
wild.
it's like, I
Thank you.
mean,
It's a cool
it's
observation, man.
it's kind of crazy to look at it. And I'm like, it just keeps going, but it's like the timestamp. It's not like it's like this has been since 2015. Like this is like
Yeah, yeah.
the last 3 years. You've just kind of packed a lot into it. So I think like
Thank you.
there's a lot to be said for that mindset of just like I
Mm,
like the way that you put it with the fish and everything. It's just like not everything. That's what the whole problem is with the whole perfectionist mindset that a lot of
mhm.
people take. It's like it has to like you shouldn't be sitting on something for so long that it's just because how
Yep.
much are you really going to change that one thing that's
Yep.
worth putting it off for another like 4 months? You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. 100%. Nobody's gonna hear the difference, man. Nobody.
right? And like
Like,
music nerds will, and they'll
yeah,
go ahead. They can go write their little like blog about it or whatever if they so please. But like, it's
exactly.
not going to make that
Hmm.
much of a difference at the end of the day. And like you said,
Yep.
like it's better to put something out and have it fall short than to just sit on it and just stamp it with a it's not good enough because
Yeah, I
like it's
agree.
I almost every artist I've had on here I ask what like it's always their favorite song of their own isn't the song that's at the top of their profile, isn't the song
Yeah,
that gets the
never.
most like response from people. So just because you
Right.
don't think that that might be good enough doesn't mean that there aren't going to be people out there that would listen to it and consume it and love it as much as
Yeah,
you did when you first wrote it.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, the things that the things that I've put out that have done well have completely shocked me, man. Like right now, just creeping up like the numbers for no reason is this voice memo version of a song I did literally just into my phone, and it's just me and an acoustic guitar, and like there's so much noise. It's a poor recording. It's a pretty good vocal take, but like ultimately I wanted to show like this is what it sounded like before I produced
Mm-hmm.
it, and this is like the studio version of Tattoos, and I think it's at like number 9 on my like Spotify now, which makes zero sense because that is the least amount of time I've ever put into a song. I think that was like the third take of a 3 minute song. So I sat down, probably overthought it. I mean, ultimately, from uploading it and like throwing a little bit of EQ on it, that took like 30 minutes. Like genuinely. So yeah, I mean, I'm just very much on the mindset of like just put the crap out, man. People want to grow with you, and I think that this just says a lot also about the industry and that everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to make the perfect song and then it's going to blow up and then I'm going to have a career." No. I mean like odds are that's not going to happen, right? Like
Yeah.
in my opinion or from my experience, virality is totally a byproduct or if I get lucky, something like that. But
It's yeah.
you can't bank on it, right?
No.
And so that's why like I mean that's why I play all the small shows. That's why I've grown to play like all these small ones to grow to play something big, you know? And then like yeah, sure, some of the new releases aren't going absolutely ballistic stream wise, but I have hundreds of people who are listening every single day and who love those songs that have them tattooed on their body, that have like literally somebody just made their graduation cap with one of the lyrics and it's like all this craziness and I'm like yeah we might only be 15,000 strong monthly listeners but like this is changing people's lives and they are lifelong fans, so
Mhm.
that's how you build a career. That's not how you build an overnight blip in the pan, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
In
I
my
like
opinion.
I always advocate against virality just for the sense of like a lot of times like I feel like you might want that to happen, but then like that raises the
Mhm.
stakes almost. Like that sets like a higher expectation than you might be prepared for, especially if you're like very early on in this stage of like
Mm,
this is like one of your first couple songs. It's like you're going to have to really kind of be on your shit to keep up with
exactly.
the expectation that's then going to be set. Like if you want to go, if that's what you want to just send you into finding a label and doing that, okay,
Yeah, sure.
you'll, be treading water, you'll survive. But
Yeah.
like just wanting that sort of overnight success
Yeah.
isn't something that's necessarily sustainable over time. Like that's like that could be your
Hmm.
peak and then it just goes down from there. It's
I
better to have
agree.
that slow build and generate,
Totally.
actual connections and like monthly listeners and stats like that and following and everything. It really varies. It
Yeah,
really
so
varies
much.
and it can really, it's really hard to have that be what defines where like an artist is at. Like you just said, like 15,000 monthly listeners in the grand scheme of things might not be that much, but like you're
Mhm.
having these people do these things that like as a response to your music that is like clearly like a true like top 1% fan type of vibe.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like
there's a lot of them too. Yeah.
it's just there's no and like but do those two things sit in the same equation?
Yeah,
Not what
right?
meets the eye, but clearly it does, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh
Um
my God. I'm like, this is the soapbox that I love so much. Like, go off, man. Like, I think that the people that just blow up overnight, like I've had so many friends do that started the project like months prior, or it's one of their first releases, you know, like they will never know. They will never know what it's like to play a room of 50 people and you put so much work into getting 50 people there and
mhm,
that show for 50 people will feel better for you than an arena full of people you never worked for. Like I mean when we opened for Waka Flocka Flame. Like there's 5,500 people there, but I literally that was my first show ever. And I got up there and I was like, that's so fun. That was so cool. Wow. And then I headlined like a couple of months later and we sold like 400 tickets, which is great, but like nowhere near that 5,000 number, right?
mhm.
And I felt so much more love and like just I felt so much more of everything in that smaller room than I did in that room with literally over 10 times the amount of people, you know? So I
Yeah.
think that if you want to love life, if you want to have a fun career, like like a true longevity based, like fun, like love at the center career, you need to do your time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's because and the thing is too is it's like I think the people that will continue to do it after it's been a few years and maybe things haven't quite got off the ground yet. Like
Mhm.
those are the people that are here for the heart of it, like here
Mm.
because it's just their soul cannot manage to do anything else. Like it's like
Yeah,
that is,
totally.
it's this very saturated space, especially with how independent is anymore, because it's like
Mm.
anybody can do it in the way that anybody, like in the sense that anybody has those resources.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like it's not going to happen for everybody, because I don't think ever it's just like anything else. Like not everybody will be in it for the right reasons. And so
Totally.
it'll like the people that are like focused on the virality, like that's just not, if that's all you want, good luck. But
Mhm.
you'll
Yeah.
you'll give it up in a few years.
Yeah,
But it's those people that really
totally.
like will put everything they have into it to just see something come out of it
Totally.
are the ones that will end up here year after year and continue to see that actual like stair stepping growth.
I agree. It's the question of like, would you keep putting out music if nobody listened? And if your answer is no, you're not doing it for the right reason. Like me and my friends have played so many shows for like nobody or for like no money. And like every time we walk into those scenarios, we're like, it's for the love of the game. Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel so alive in front of 10 people, just shredding our in with my boys, with my dudes, and like it's what we do, you know? Playing these songs that means so much to me. So I feel like that's where my heart is in that. That was like the most long-winded roundabout way to answer your question. Literally.
That's all
Oh
good.
my God.
Um, what inspires a lot of your songwriting?
Oh, great question. I take inspiration from a lot of different things. A lot of my projects are all over the place. So my EP was inspired by like romanticizing strangers. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
Lovely Stranger EP is all about, I mean, the chorus of the title track is like, "Hey, you lovely stranger, my world revolves at the pace of what you do. Hey, you lovely stranger, you're just in time. If only you knew," type thing. Where there was just a time where like I wasn't dating my current girlfriend, and like I don't know. I was just like looking around, and what, like those passerbys where you're like, wow, I might think about them for the next couple of years. Maybe I should have married that person. That inspired that. My girlfriend right now, she inspires a lot of my music. So songs like That'd Be Enough, like really speak directly to her, like explicitly describe her. But a lot of it, I would say the large majority of the stuff is my own introspection of like finding out who I am through the process of writing these songs. So things like Golden Eyes and like Make It Today were like originally with prompts. Like I just wanted to write a song about perseverance, and little did I know I was writing it about myself. And it's hard to realize that until like I was halfway through production when I realized, man, the reason I love this so much is because I'm connecting with it so much, and it's definitely just about me. Like Golden Eyes was written to someone like, I got you, like you're gonna make it, all of this. But like in retrospect, it was definitely what I needed to hear in the moment. So I think my most authentic songwriting is from the depths of me that I don't want to say, so I write.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a lot of times the case, because like I mean, I ultimately started writing as just a can't say it out loud. I'll put it in a song, call it a day, and then we're good.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's kind of like the best stuff, because you like when you put it in that sort of context, you're kind of enabling yourself to take a perspective on it that is different than just trying to sift through the thoughts yourself. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like the intention of this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm writing about. It's
Hmm.
this just happens to be like where I'm at. I wrote something and apparently it translates that.
Yeah,
It's
right.
never, it's always the ones, at least in my opinion, that like kind of happen naturally and not really necessarily with the intention
Hmm.
of being like, this is how I feel, this is what I'm putting on the page, where it's just kind of
Absolutely.
like that happy accident of like, I
Hmm.
felt something, couldn't figure out what it was, fucked
But
around
it
on the
like I
piano
guess
for
it
a
was
little
that.
bit and things happened.
Right?
Um,
100%. Couldn't say it better.
it's
That's so
just,
true.
and then, I mean, sometimes it'll leave you in the situation where it's like, is that really how I feel?
Yeah.
Do I need to deal with that? So
Yeah,
that,
should I
is
go
that a,
handle that?
yeah,
Should we talk about that?
should that be, addressed?
Yeah,
No,
right.
the answer is always no.
Shove it down. Shove
No,
it
save it
down.
for a song for later.
Exactly. Oh my God. There's this one that I wrote with completely that sentiment called Lover that's not out yet. And I like have it recorded and felt so good about it.
Hmm.
And then like it just didn't make sense to put it out in the month that it was like written in and stuff. And so I was like, oh, hold on to this, but I'll put it out in the spring. But the more people I show it to, the more people are like, oh my God, I relate with that so much. And so I'm breaking my own rule, and it's the only song I'm holding on to because I've been playing it so many places, and people are like, "Oh my God, we love this, we need this, we need this." And so I have them tell me what it means to them, you know?
Hmm.
And then like when I finally put it out in the fall, which is when it actually is going to come out, like I'm gonna have all of these stories of all of these people playing like I mean, when we opened for Judith and the Lion, I played it like when we were playing all these college shows, all the college kids have begun like this hashtag make lover a single because they want it now, which is cool. And it just I think that it was it's a complete reflection of how people want to relate with the art that we make. I mean, it's literally three verses and a bridge, and it has no chorus to it. Like it's just a weird format of a song, but people find themselves in it, and the rhyme scheme is so whack. But I wrote that song in like 15 minutes. I knew that I knew that I wanted to write a song, like I needed to get something off my chest. And I mean I sure did, and it just came flowing out of me for that tune.
Yeah, and sometimes the songs, and I feel like anymore what's nice about music is like things aren't your cut and dry formats anymore. Like you
Mm,
can just have
yeah.
that sort of thing and people will potentially love it if it's
Yep.
like, done in the right way. I don't think that every song was is meant to have a chorus. I don't think that every song is meant to have a bridge.
Mhm.
It's like sometimes it'll just go top to bottom, the same kind of deal, just telling different parts and that kind of
Yeah,
get things along the way. And
totally.
that's just sometimes how it kind of works out. You can't always
Hmm.
write to the textbook format.
100%. There are like a handful of songs that I like before I really realized what I was doing music wise. I was like, goodness, I love these songs. They like really spoke to me. And now that once I began writing my stuff, I realized that these are super abnormal song structures and began writing things similar to it. Like two of the ones that really inspire me are Ordinary People by Blake Rose and How to Be Yours by Chris Renzema. Do you know of either of those?
I know the Blake Rose one.
Okay, I was gonna say those two like are super strange format wise and have just like those are life songs. Like I'm gonna be playing those the rest of my life for my kids, for my grandkids. It's like that kind of thing. And I like literally steal not the concept, steal the format because I'm like, that's so good and it made me feel something, but I never steal it on purpose. I just write the song and I'm like, oh my God, that's Ordinary People. Wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
No,
how a lot
it
of my process is.
it definitely just kind of happens sometimes, and that's the best part of it. I think, you have to be somewhat intentional to kind of keep that muscle getting stronger and whatever with
Yeah,
the creative
totally.
process and stuff. But
Hmm.
at the same time, it's like the stuff that just kind of comes out of you without any sort of pause where you're just like, damn, like 2 hours just went by and I had no idea.
Yeah, right.
The best stuff.
Exactly.
Always the best
We're
stuff.
just vessels sometimes, man. It just comes out.
If you had to create a new genre around your style of music, what would you call
I think that's what we're doing right now.
it?
Right now, I think the direction though that we're taking it is oh, I'm so excited for the new music we're putting out. We're kind of going if Coldplay met some Michael Bublé and like a little bit of Sex on Fire type beat,
Mm,
Kings of Leon,
yeah.
and like I don't really know what we would call that, but it's such like wholesome pop, you know? That's the space I live in, you know what I mean? Where I don't know, I feel like it's seldom anything but uplifting, but definitely some songs that don't fit that bill. But um I don't even know. It's hard to put a title to what we're doing because finding our sound, I feel like I'm just swimming through an ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tricky thing, like people struggle enough with trying to put themselves in a box of this is
Mm.
the like genre I fall under, especially with all the subgenre categories and everything anymore. It's hard to kind of
Mm.
narrow it down, especially in that sort of like pop side of things, because
Mhm.
it's an all encompassing thing.
It really
So
is.
much falls into pop, and it's just like
Yeah, I totally agree.
that's just it.
I don't know where I'll ever be. I'm just gonna keep floating and people are gonna keep liking it, hopefully. So we're just gonna keep going.
I mean, if Taylor Swift can go through all those different eras, I don't think anybody can
Yep.
stray too
Ex
far from their roots,
exactly.
you know?
Exactly. I mean, in my opinion, from my interpretation from one of her songs, the greatest movies of all time were never written. Um, I think, or were never done. I think that the greatest music of all time will never be the most visible. And I hope that I become more visible as an artist at some point, but I think that that's a very interesting thing to run with because we are all trying to be different but fit in, you know? And my interpretation of that phrase is like the greatest art, the greatest music only be recognized by few. So I think being genreless is has never been more prevalent, but everything in music business says don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, but if you look at stuff from even 5 years ago, it's going to tell you to do things differently than it would now. Things are
Mhm.
ever changing, and we are in
True.
the peak time of do whatever the hell you want. My
Mhm.
my my take on anything is if it's good enough in quality and not in the like, oh, this is good music, this is bad music, like opinion kind of thing, but like
Yeah, yeah,
quality
yeah.
and sort of like in terms of sound,
Hmm.
if it's good enough, every like all music will have its home in somebody's ears.
Yeah,
It'll be like
totally. Mm.
somebody will care about it. But the more off the beaten track you go, the smaller that audience might be, but the more passionate that audience will probably be.
I
You know,
totally agree. Yeah, I've never thought about it like that. That's a good take. That's totally true. There's home for everybody. Like one of my favorite artists has 11 monthly listeners. 11. And he's amazing. And it pisses me off because he's so good. Ah, but like his music is home in my ears. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of finding it. That's the thing is like everybody, like the biggest question is like finding your audience. And that's ultimately what kind of makes that career and funnels that growth. But
mhm, absolutely.
it's
You're so right.
the hardest piece of the puzzle.
It so is. You're so right.
Is there a release that you think is the best representation of who you are as an artist? Like if you had to sell somebody on essentially coming to your next show and you got to show them one song from your catalog. What song do you show them to get them to be the next Adam Paddock fan?
That's the best way to ask that question. That was awesome. Well, I would say conveniently I have a live album out. Um, so that is truly representative. But we have the binary in my shows where we have the super upbeat epic, like
Hmm.
really fun, and then we have the really wholesome, all it feels almost churchy, ethereal.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna answer both of those because
Okay.
I feel like I'd have to give you two songs. I would say listen to Milky Way live at the Newport, because it like the crowd noise makes me cry every time.
That day in granite eyes, show to pass. That day in compromise won't quite last. That day in tired skies goes so fast. stay in paradise. It stays so close, this day in wishful times. And every bit of hope, this day in open light, knows only how to fly. Sing it for me. Far from we get back these memories fade. There's no hope in the morning. We can seize the day. Started the Milky Way.
I asked the crowd to sing it literally like 4 times, and they know every word, all the verses, all the choruses, and it's like that was my first song I ever put out, you know. So that one would be very representative, and I think it's pretty good vocal take, and really represents my band well because I love them so much, and they make me so much better than I am. I love the live versions from that album better than most of the studio stuff that we have out. Maybe it's because it's new, but maybe it's also because it's better. And then for the upbeat situation, I would say Broken Clarity Remix. I would say that is the most bombastic, upbeat, like craziness as it can get. And then everything falls between that and Milky Way.
This vintage love, it leaves a mark, it leaves you all alone with no help. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but just go and focus on yourself. Why is it hard for us to choose who we love and who we lose? Tell me one more time, should I be lost for you?
So I think if you listen to those 2 songs and you like it, you'll like the rest, you know? But that's just really like choosing children, you know what I mean? Choosing a favorite child. Yeah, I'm sure you get that. Like I would say there are a handful of others that really fall into that competition.
I think that, I mean, I think it's an interesting take that you kind of took it as what are the 2 ends of the spectrum, and the fact that one of the ones you landed on is like your first release. Now it's granted it's the live version, but it's still, it's like the first thing you like ever wrote or ever put out, at least not ever wrote. But
it is one of the first things I ever wrote, actually.
Broken Clarity was interesting to me because I hadn't heard the original first. I had heard the remix first. And so then I went back and listened to the original, and I was like, because to me, I couldn't necessarily make out that it was like, I knew what was said was Broken Clarity once I knew the name of it, but just hearing it, I was like trying to figure out what those like words were. And then I went back and heard the original, and I was like, wait, this kind of like, because like remixes for me can very much be hit or miss. Like sometimes they take something and just make it in this very like 4 on the floor type of vibe, and it's just it's just not it. That one, it was like it reinvented the song in a different way, which was really interesting to kind of hear. It's like it wasn't just like a couple things were added here or there, or like it was just kind of like adjusted. It was like it kind of was like completely like remixed, which was like really
a new
cool
song,
to see.
like completely. I wish I had recorded my first time listening, because my jaw was on the floor. Like, oh my god, I can't rave about Sam Bowman enough. He's like the remixer who did that song, and he has a whole playlist of other stuff that he's remixed, and that kid is just the best producer I've ever met. Like,
Really,
he has this crazy comprehension of music theory, and so things just get like, he breaks so many rules in great ways. So
if you had to pick 2 or 3 artists that you think your music is like a combination of, who would it be?
oh, that's such a good question. I have a couple different answers based on the target demographic. Um, I would say, like, how do I rope in all of these worlds?
I know.
Because there's a lot of Jeremy Zucker in there.
Okay.
There is AJR is the most mainstream way to tie in horns into pop, but it is not representative enough. So I'll say AJR for the layman, but really it would be more of a King's Kaleidoscope or a Couch type thing, where there's just more complex, like the horns and Stay Close to Me. Like that's so beyond pop horns, you know, like that's stupid. Like those are so good. And AJR would never do something like that because it's too complex. So many ads and all that junk. And then so maybe I'll say Jeremy Zucker, AJR, and Coldplay. I think that's fair because Jeremy Zucker and Coldplay have acoustic versions of stuff and more stripped versions of things.
Mhm.
So like that's where some of my stuff intersects, you know? But I also have the really motivational elements of Coldplay but also some of the more like tight production that comes with Jeremy Zucker.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like Coldplay's like their like Clocks era and stuff like that, like even the
Mhm.
Scientist, like that's more on
Yeah.
that edge of your more singer-songwriter type rather than I mean, you get the live show energy of Coldplay,
Yeah,
in
for
that sense
sure.
too.
Yeah, that's my
But
favorite. Oh, that's why we did that. We did the one GoldenEye's A Sky Full of Stars mashup, which I don't know if you've heard, but it goes so ballistic. It goes so hard live. Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's just the
it's
same
cool when you
chords, so I
can
was like,
cross something like that, cross
Mhm.
something of your own with something that like exists and have it function in
Totally.
a normal way.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, I agree. And it was just a total accident. I was writing GoldenEyes and then I was just like getting frustrated, and so I looked up a Coldplay song. I'm like, I'm just gonna play a cover to get my mind off this, and then I realized these are the same chords, just in a different key. So I transposed them, and I was like, wait, we're gonna do this live someday. And I recorded a video of us doing it. I recorded a video of me doing it junior year of college in a practice room.
Mm.
And I need to stitch that with all 900 people at that show. That was
For
sick.
sure. Came full
Yeah.
circle.
This whole journey has been. They say it's a 7-year career, and I'm seeing so many things come around after just 3. Well, not even 3 yet, but you know what I mean.
I mean, just wait till you're at 7, that'll just be nuts.
I can't wait. That's gonna be so fun. I can't wait for that day.
What is an outside passion of yours that you feel impacts who you are as an artist?
I could take this so many different ways. Um, I have so many like stupid ones that like I think, okay, I'm gonna go a couple different routes. All right. Well, annoyingly, the first thing that pops into mind that impacts my life genuinely is frisbee golf. I disc golf a lot,
Okay.
and I have so much fun doing it, and it is like a great stress reliever for me, and it's a free sport, and it's super easy to bring friends like along. Like
Mhm.
you don't even have to be good. If you can throw a frisbee with confidence, even if it's bad, we'll go find it, and everybody is just happy when you get to the end of the course. So like that's one of my favorite outside hobbies. So I mean, just growing up playing sports and being a gymnast in college and all that junk, like I need to be active in some way, and that's a way where I can like burn 2 hours and burn some calories and be outside and still be with people because I need people. Like people are the point, you know what I mean? You know? Looks. Oh my god. Is that a people are the point wristband that you have on right now or not?
No, it
Be
is
honest.
not.
It looks the exact same as my people are the
Really?
point wristbands. Yeah, the blue one. Weird. I was like, how did you get that? If it is. Um,
No.
that's funny. But that's definitely a hobby that impacts me outside. Um, I what other hobbies do I have? It's a great question. I'm a pretty obsessive individual, so I like do a lot of just music all the time, you know? What other things? Literally my life is wake up, make music, and then hang out with friends or hang out with my girlfriend. Like that's everything. I go to church. I would a passion. These are all like so flippant because I feel like I'm completely all in or I'm like completely hands off. Like I'm a big trivia guy. I love
Mm.
going to trivia. Like I go to trivia twice a week, like every week whenever I don't have shows. Um, so I think that's something that impacts my knowledge. I can stay sharp. Um, these are not the answers you're looking for. Oh my God. What's the question again?
What is an outside passion of yours that you feel impacts who you are as an artist?
Yeah, those don't impact me as an artist. Um, oh, yeah. Oh my God. So in college, I was an RA. And
Hmm.
so I had a lot of passion for like helping kids find home, find community on campus at Ohio State, so that was like a really big thing for me and ended up bleeding into so many elements of my artistry. In fact, my guitarist and co-producer is or was one of my residents. So Max Liu, my guitarist and co-producer, literally lived 2 doors down from me, and it was my job at Bowen House at Ohio State to make him feel comfortable, make him feel welcome up amongst the rest of the floor and everything. And that completely impacted the trajectory of my artist path because so much of my sound is curated by his guitar parts and just like the incredible ear that he has for mixing, and also just like I don't know, just knowing what the Adam Paddock brand is. And then, I mean, I think driving for that community in the RA element of things, if you listen to Brightly, my song, one of my oldest songs, you can hear a bunch of my residents yelling gang vocals during the choruses. And that's just because they heard me making music at the first couple of weeks of school and were super intrigued. So all of them who were listening on the outside of the door, I looked through the peephole and I was like, hey guys, just come in and be a part of this. And so they all yelled, and it was a really cool thing. So I think building community is like the biggest thing for me, and that's why I started People Are the Point, at the LLC that everything runs under, and why a lot of my merch says that. So that's kind of where my hobbies, but also just passions intersect with like the artistry of it, because I don't think it's worth doing. I don't think music is worth doing unless you're doing it with people you love. So
I think
that's a
that's
way
well
better
said.
answer. Thank you. Much better than frisbee golf.
I was just waiting for that connection to where that kind of crosses over into the
Yeah.
music space.
Yeah, you're like, what are you saying, dog? Oh my God.
What is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists? I feel like we've kind of like edged on an answer to this
Mm,
question just in earlier conversation, but it's on
sure.
the list. So
Oh,
let's
I love
get
that.
into it.
No, that's so sick. I think that there are a handful of things. I think there's the business mindset that's like the first thing that pops in my mind. Creating meaning alongside the music is a big thing for me. So I think that a lot of people just put music out. It's like, I broke up with my girlfriend and now I hate her. And I'm like, no, like, how can I make your day a little bit better or like impact you? You know what I mean? And not
Hmm.
to say that music is soulless, because that music very much comes from a real place. But I want it to be a little bit of an experience and a community driven thing when you're listening to Adam Paddock and experiencing what I have to offer. So I think that's one thing that sets me apart. I think the drive and ability to pull crazy shows is a big thing that a lot of indie artists aren't able to do, especially at our scale. Like no one's first concert ever should be Waka Flocka Flame. Like what? What? You are kidding me, you know? Like I can't believe I opened for them without, like, me and the band had never played. David was a part of that band who played that show as well. We had to call him in 2 days before, drive him up. He had to learn it on the spot. Like it was crazy, crazy good. So I think having a band behind me that's better than me at all of the instruments that like we play is a very important thing. I have a lot of people very sold out for this because we it takes a village to make something great. Like I'm making good things myself, but every time I send it to Max, every time I send it to Adrian, like they're like, hey, do this simple thing and it's 10 times better. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I love not working in a vacuum, and I prioritize not working in a vacuum. I plan in a vacuum to make it so I can make my village grow as quickly as possible. So I think that's a big thing. I think a handful of mentors in my life that have taught me a lot of valuable lessons from their mistakes really helps me out. So like in terms of the financial element of things, like I don't get paid for music. Everything that I would get paid for, we just pour straight back in. The band is pretty sold out on that as well. Like other than college shows, Adam Paddock pays for Adam Paddock entity. And the band, they're like, if you pay for my food, then we're chilling. You know what I mean? So I think those things, it's just really important to find people with your priorities, like in line. So that's a big thing. I think just it really breaks down to the having meaning alongside the independent artist's message, So the people are the point thing, it was never a gimmick. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
never just a motto. I've been saying that since high school, literally. And somebody joked, "Oh, like put that on a t-shirt." And I was like, "How about I make that my entire thing?"
Yeah.
You know? And so I think those are a handful of things that set me apart. Um, I think that the more you invest in other people, the more it'll come back.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that like I thought I have looked at like the people are the point stuff before, and I looked at it and I was like, it's not like what's cool about it is it's not just listed as like your merch. Like if you click on like a link to your merch, it'll take you there, but it's like it's under people are the point. Like that's the
Mhm.
all
Yeah.
encompassing thing. Like you said, that's the LLC and everything. Like it's cool that it's like you've taken it in a way where it's like more about that than it is like, oh, this is me and what I'm doing, and
Mm,
this is
yes.
like the
Yeah.
like
Oh,
purpose and
that's
everything.
so
Like it's
cool.
just an all encompassing kind of thing, which is something like it, you're right, it's not something that a lot of people have done.
Hmm.
um People
Yeah,
might
and people
have
can,
like purposes behind their
yeah,
things and things that they want
totally.
to kind of get across and messages and whatnot, but it's not necessarily articulated in that same kind of way. And
Hmm.
with it being so like communal in that
Hmm.
way, um it makes a good case for, the live show setting for stuff like what you do and stuff like that. It's just a cool kind of all encompassing thing that's, it's bigger than just the music.
Yeah, that's so real. Yeah, I know that also people can tell if you're faking it, if it's a gimmick, if it's something that you're just trying to monetize. So I think that, I mean, if anybody's taking advice from this, you can't you can't just phone it in, you have to live it.
Hmm.
And I think it helped that it was kind of just like, oh well, why don't I? Because I'm already doing it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I think I'm lucky, but also I think I'm lucky to have found myself in the communities that prioritize people a lot. And keeping that at the forefront of things is the only way I want this business to continue.
Yeah, I mean it's what it's ultimately all about. Like you said, it's not as enjoyable doing it entirely like isolated. It's
Yeah.
about having that community just in the music itself, like you said, like
Hmm.
it's more worth doing when you're doing it with people that like you care about and people that are kind of in that
Preach.
same mindset. And so
Hmm.
like having that also impressed as like a um message and mantra, if you will, like it just makes sense.
Yeah, come on now. I love that. That's so sick.
I think we've kind of led directly into this, which is what we were just talking about. But what impact do you want to have with your music and your artistry?
If I am playing music for the people that have supported me and that I've been able to like reciprocally like love back with my art for the rest of my life, the message of people are the point and the community that builds, like that will be everything for me. If I can just play for those people and see, like a lot of people come to all of my shows because they meet other people who are like, oh my God, because we take 30 seconds out of most shows to be like, all right, meet the people beside you. That way, next time you come to an Adam Paddock show, you'll have even more friends here. And that like has gone a really long way. And as long as those friendships continue, like we have roadies and we have groupies, we have these people who want to be a part of this thing for a long time. So the message and the impact that I want to leave is that like you're not alone. You're not like insignificant. Like in this room for these 3 hours when we're all together enjoying this music, I'm enjoying it with you. You know what I mean? And I think that impact goes a long way and that people are the point. And when I say people are the point, it means that you are the point.
Absolutely. I mean, I I think, and it's become more prevalent to me in the past couple years, but it's like what ultimately is at the core of why music is the way that it is and why it's enabled to have the impact that it can have is because of that humane need and desire for like human connection more than anything else. Like it's like put it up there with food, water, and shelter, you know, like it's
Yeah.
just we need
Ugh.
that sort of connection in some way, shape, or form all the time. And so it's what, like, you know, it's why there are these cult followings to some artists. It's why that there are like you can become friends with someone just because they like the same like artist as you or the same music as you. Like that's something that people can bond over so easily, is
Yes.
because it's just, you know, and the music connects you to the person that created it. And it connects
Totally.
you as the creator to the people that consume it. Because it's just kind of this unspoken thing of like, I wrote this thing, you enjoy this thing, there's a reason that we both like have this attachment to this thing and we're just like, you know, bonded
Yeah.
that way. And so with it being so people centric, it's like it just makes so much sense and fits so well because
Dude,
of
yes.
the impact that that alone as a thing can have. And now you've kind of made it your whole purpose, if you will. And it just kind
Totally.
of amplifies it even more.
Cheers to that, man. I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. True, true, true. Yep.
I
That.
mean, that's what it's all about.
Exactly. I literally can't add on. It's so symbiotic, and and the fact that you understand it encourages me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that brings us to the last question, which is ultimately the whole kind of idea behind the podcast, which is why music?
Mm. I love that. How did I not see this coming? That's awesome. Why music? I think music for me, I think that the answer to that question is that I just have no better way to represent or to process what I feel, what I experience in my daily life than the music that I can create with the people that I created. You know, like they go in tandem. They cannot be separated. I think the why music is my it's my conduit. It's my conduit for meaning, you know? And so whenever I get the opportunity to sit down with someone and co-write, or sit down with someone or get on a stage with someone and perform and be like, this is why we were created, there's an understanding. And I've yet to find a stronger understanding between me and another group of individuals. Never felt more loved. I've never felt more seen and felt like I was worth a lot, you know, in that scenario. So I think that's my why music. It's about doing the thing that I love most with the people that I love most, even if I met them 3 minutes before on the side stage. There's an instant connection all the time when the music's intention is in the right spot.
No, I mean, I like we were just saying, it's so much bigger than we could ever imagine. It's so much bigger
Mm.
than you can ever even fathom. You know, it's
Yep.
just the power that music has, the impression that music can have on people, the level of passion that goes into the
Yeah.
creation of it. It's just
Totally.
there's nothing else like it. Like, yes, it's an art form and you can put it in that same like fine arts category of visual art and dance and
Mm-hmm.
theater and whatever else qualifies, but it's a different beast,
Mm-hmm.
and in the best way.
I'm 100% with you on that one. I think the people that get it get it. The people who've worked in any arts like understand the connection that comes with working with like-minded individuals with the right priorities.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Preach, man. Do you
For
have some
sure.
epic outro written as well?
I do. Well, not epic, but it's like it's my nice little wrap up.
Sick.
Um
I love it. I love it. If it's anything like that intro, I need that
I don't
intro.
think it can meet the expectations of the intro,
Oh,
but
whack. That was so good. Sick. All right,
All
I'll
right.
let you take it away.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Why Music podcast. Check back again next Tuesday for another conversation with another independent artist. Thanks for listening.